One day it will all come together at an appropriate time. Band of Brothers. Isn't that a Vietnam movie? No. Let's see. I think Clemson was in the Twilight Zone last night.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
That was unusual. You know, we got off on the wrong foot on the mound and got started on the wrong foot defensively. Played really poor 2 innings. I'm really proud of how we battled back because, you know, it would have been easy to feel sorry for ourselves and pack it in and battle and scored 19 or 20 unanswered runs.
It's important to not just play one good weekend. It's important to build upon a great weekend or build upon a midweek win last week that we had. It started with Wofford, and we've built on that, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday afternoon in the Palmetto State. You heard from the baseball, Chad Holbrook. Boy, they went through a couple of different styles of baseball games last night. I'm not sure where you could find a case like with Clemson last night, guys, where you're behind by 10 runs and then later in the game you're up by 10 runs. I mean, that's probably happened so infrequently in baseball. It's got to be kind of historic. How many times does a team fall behind by 10 runs, then turns around and leads by 10 runs? Clemson did that last night to Furman. They were down 10-0. And remember, we're talking about Clemson having a losing season. And the Tigers go ahead 23-13, end up winning. I think it was 23-15. Furman scored a couple of ninth-inning runs. But huge win for Clemson last night as they go to Florida State. Equally big win for the Gamecocks as they pound upstate, and they continue to stay hot at the plate. We'll hear from Chad Holbrook and Jack Leggett later on tonight. Steve Spurrier as well. SEC coaches in the East had their conference call today, and we'll hear from Spurrier here coming up in just a moment. K-Mac, any major notes coming from Spurrier? Let me say one thing before you mention major notes, and that is, you know, Everett Golson was never going to South Carolina. People, local people, regional people, and national people. So, you know, for Spurrier to say that they're not interested in Golson, he was never going there. End of story. Move on.
They've never
now,
been.
What else did he say?
They've never been interested in Everett Golson when he was a high school player. Everett Golson somehow became the new version of Will Muschamp at South Carolina, a guy that everybody's talking about nationally, that somehow some people, even reporters affiliated with South Carolina, were linking to the Gamecocks. But no, the head ball coach who did tell, Josh Kendall from the state newspaper, not on the conference call today, but did say that they are not going after Everett Golson. He talked about his defense and their remodeled and revamped defense, John Hoke's impact. He talked about his quarterbacks that he does have on campus that he is interested in. That would be Connor Mitch and Perry Orth and Scarnecki, as he likes to call them. And the work they're putting in this offseason. So some Spurrier nuggets coming up here, Corn.
And of
after
course,
the break.
in general, he said even before spring practice, back in January, I'm not looking to go after a transfer.
He's been saying it. You just straight from his mouth. But people don't believe. Oh, he's just saying that. Oh, he's just saying that he's not after Will Muschamp. Well, no, he's really a pretty straightforward guy.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. Spurrier coming up.
Okay, yeah, we salvaged a very mediocre season last year, but
All right, coming up in just a couple of moments, we'll hear from USC football coach Steve Spurrier. Phil Kornblut with you from our Myrtle Beach headquarters tonight. Came down for a little round of golf, another enjoyable day on the links here in beautiful Myrtle Beach. Not a victory. Can't say I claimed a victory today, but had an enjoyable time. But I did want to mention that I played with a gentleman who is a former football player at Boston College. His name is Kent. Doesn't matter. But he was a center at Boston College back in the mid-'70s and had a little tryout with the Chicago Bears as well, but enjoyed playing golf with him, and he's excited about living in South Carolina now and going to Clemson when Boston College comes down to play the Tigers this football season. He's looking forward to going to Death Valley. He never snapped in the shotgun, Pro. He said back then there was no such thing with them as a shotgun. Of course, BC was an independent back then and always known for their big, talented offensive lineman. He weighed 247 pounds as a center at Boston College back in the mid-'70s.
That's it. Remember Joe Morrison, before he came to South Carolina, used a 195-pound nose tackle at New Mexico.
Times have changed, indeed. Times have changed, indeed. But anyway, had a great time, and if you have a chance to get down to Myrtle Beach and enjoy the weather, if you got a Harley, it's Harley Week here in Myrtle Beach. A lot of those running around the Grand Strand. Stay out of their way. They'll stay out of your way. Beautiful weather down here in Myrtle Beach. A couple of quick notes, and then we'll get to Steve Spurrier's comments from the conference call. The ACC Big Ten Challenge for this coming basketball season, and Clemson has been assigned a trip to Minnesota on November 30th. That's a Monday night. Clemson will play at Minnesota. Some of the marquee matchups: Maryland at North Carolina, Virginia at Ohio State, Michigan will be at NC State, Indiana will play at Duke, Louisville will go to Michigan State, Notre Dame will play at Illinois, and Wisconsin will go to Syracuse. Some of the highlight games in the annual ACC Big Ten Challenge. By the way, Marquise Reed, announced by Clemson today, did sign his financial aid agreement to transfer to Clemson, so he is good to go. FCS Sporting News preseason top 25. Coastal checks in at number 6, and Charleston Southern is at number 24. North Dakota State number 1, followed by Sam Houston State, Illinois State, Villanova, and Eastern Washington. USC Clemson winners last night in baseball, as was the College of Charleston. College of Charleston continues to look good for an opportunity to host a regional, and perhaps Coastal as well. Both of these teams with RPIs in the top 20. If they continue to win and win at their respective tournaments, you got to think they'll have a great chance to host a regional in a couple of weeks. All right, Steve Spurrier today, K-Mac, on the SEC conference call. Why don't you lead us in?
Yeah, the head ball coach, recapping a lot of the things that we've heard several times from the HBC since the end of the season, but, you know, you can never get enough of the head ball coach.
Okay, yeah, we salvaged a very mediocre season last year by winning 3 of our last 4 and somehow winning another bowl game 4 years in a row. So we're not sitting around here in the dumps, that's for sure, but we also realize we got to play a whole lot better on offense, defense, and the kicking game next year. Got a new defensive coach. John Hoke comes in to be the co-coordinator with Lorenzo Ward, and I think through spring practice we seem to get lined up better. Seems like we're just a little bit more organized to where all the guys know what to do. And we think we're going to play a lot better on defense. We struggled a lot last year. Didn't have any defensive players drafted, so we weren't quite as talented as we have been here. And it was a big reason I think we ended up being 7-6. Offensively, we did some good things, but late in the game, sometimes we couldn't stay on the field and move the ball, and then we didn't stop the other team. But last year's history, and we're trying to improve. We made some changes, and we're looking forward to this coming season.
As far as having co-defensive coordinators, how does that work? I guess who's going to be the top guy?
Okay. Yeah, John Hoke is going to call it. He's basically coordinating the secondary, and Lorenzo the front 7. But John Hoke is doing the defensive calling and so forth. And so forth, but they're both very active, and but one guy, John Hoke, will call the shots.
You guys obviously had a prior coaching together there.
Mm-hmm.
How good do you feel about Hoke, and what was it that made you feel like you wanted to add him?
Well, obviously, if you watched us play last year, we really struggled on defense. In fact, we gave up more yards and more points than any South Carolina team ever. So that's where we were. So we had to make some changes, and that's what the head coach has to do. I think Arkansas, Brett Bielema, showed you that sometimes changing a coordinator on defense, what that can do. And, they went from a struggling defense to one of the best in the country last year. if we can do that, we're going to have a real good team this year. But that's just what we all have to do as head coaches when something's not working very well. Hey, let's make some changes.
Hey, Steve, are you asking your quarterbacks to stay around more this summer? Somebody said they thought you were asking them to stay.
No, I didn't ask them to. They all said they're going to be here anyway. A couple of them, I think. I don't think Michael Scarnecchia will be here in May. But I think a couple of the other guys wanted to take a class or two and just be here, work out on their own and so forth. But no, we don't ask them to do that. In fact, sometimes I think it's good to get away 1 month of the year. The team is here basically 11 out of 12 months, as all the other SEC schools do. So if they want to get away, that's fine. If they want to stay here, they feel more comfortable here than going home, then that's fine with me also.
The SEC has this rule with grad transfers that makes it a little harder for SEC schools to get them in than some other schools. That rule's been getting some attention lately. Do you think that puts the SEC schools at a little bit of a disadvantage?
Oh, I'm not sure how big a disadvantage. Obviously, as coaches, I think we all wish we had the same rules with all the other conferences. Another topic is those satellite camps that the northern teams are coming into the South, and prospective players can come and so forth, and SEC schools cannot have those camps. I just wish we all had the same rules, but that's just my opinion.
Hey, Steve, last year you guys were last in the SEC in sacks. Did you see anything this spring that made you a little bit more optimistic about you guys can do this, especially past year?
Well, one player who was here, Marquavius Lewis, he was able to finish junior college in December, so he was here with us, and we believe he's really going to be an outstanding defensive end for us. There's some other players coming this summer, that junior college kids that we think are going to help. So we'll have some different players in there, and then maybe we need to create some more blitz schemes that we get a guy coming free. So we'll try some things differently this coming year.
Steve Spurrier coming off the SEC conference call today and feeling pretty good about having John Hoke helping to run things on the defensive side, guys, and some of the other things that he has added on the defensive side in terms of players. I think they're definitely going to be better on the defensive side of things. Offensively, Connor Mitch is just a big question mark. Quarterback is just a big question mark, and we're just not going to know for sure until they go out on the field against North Carolina and Charlotte and see what they have at quarterback. I think they've got some other good pieces on the offensive side. Pharaoh Cooper could have another great year if somebody can get him the football. The rest of the receiving core will be somewhat of a question mark. Offensive line should be pretty good, and running back should be pretty good.
The running game has to be good early for you to acclimate a inexperienced quarterback early. But I tell you, Carolina doesn't know what they have at quarterback. But then again, you look at it, that also means the opposition early on don't know what the quarterback can do.
So on the heels of Steve Spurrier talking today on the SEC conference call, let's take a look at the Gamecocks schedule and see what we really think is going to happen. I mean, the Gamecocks are a big question mark. There's no doubt about that. But the teams they're playing early on also have their issues, and I don't think there's anybody that they're going to be playing in the first month of the season that is head and shoulders better than them. You might say Georgia because of Nick Chubb, but Georgia also has a big question mark at quarterback. So North Carolina, winnable. Kentucky at home, winnable. Georgia in Athens, up for grabs. But I would put that in the loss column because it's on the road. I'll give Georgia that win. I would make them 2-1 at that point. Central Florida at home, they should be 3-1, which is, I think, a real swing game for them. Winnable, could lose because it's a road game. Missouri does have their quarterback back. Let's put that in the loss column. So we're talking at that point a 3-2 start. LSU coming to Columbia, 3-3. Beat Vanderbilt 4-3. Texas A&M out there, 4-4. Tennessee and Knoxville, toss-up game, could go either way. Florida in Columbia, I'd put that in the win column. Citadel in the win column. That's what? That gives them 6-7 wins. Clemson, I'd have to pick Clemson right now. I think Clemson. Yeah. So we're looking 7-5, maybe 8-4 as I see it. Anybody have a big disagreement with that?
Yeah, no. I'd put the over-under on the Gamecocks right at 7.5 or 8.
I mean, that's where I was. That's kind of where I was digging. That's 7-8.
Yeah, that's
what. But there's some swing games in there. I mean, I think Georgia's a swing game. They can go in there and beat Georgia. It all depends. We just don't know how good Connor Mitch is. If he's a good quarterback, then they're going to have a chance to be pretty good, pretty decent, because I think that their defense will be much improved. It just sounds like from what Spurrier said and what we've been hearing from players and coaches is that what they're doing they did this spring and what they've been doing just seems to fit better, and everybody seems to be more comfortable with what they're doing.
Well, and the Georgia game is always a toss-up because those Georgia kids at South Carolina play their butts off, and they play tough. Also, subtraction by addition, upstairs wearing a headset is Mike Bobo. That also benefits South Carolina, as it turned out that it did last year. So there's in the – but let's face it, whoever wins this football game, as everybody used to say early on, does not now decide the SEC East, because Missouri just stood there and let them just piddle around each other, and they just walk over the trash, and they've taken the last 2 titles.
And, I may be giving LSU too much credit. They've got to sort out their quarterback situation. I know they've got the great running back and other really good parts, but, they're going to be maybe in a quarterback quandary at that point of the season as well. We'll be back in a moment. Chad Holbrook is scheduled to join us here on Sports Talk. back at Sports Talk around the state of South Carolina Radio Network. Glad to have you with us wherever you happen to be dialed in on this Wednesday afternoon. And we appreciate you taking time out to be with us here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes, and the State Man Graham Pope all together with you once again as we welcome in USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook to Sports Talk, coming off a great run for the Gamecocks and looking ahead to number 1 LSU coming to town tomorrow night. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good, Phil. How are you?
Great. We're great. Thank you for joining us tonight. And how are you feeling about your team after last night and after what you did at Texas A&M? And I guess maybe going back to Wofford last week when things started to move in a positive direction. How are you feeling going into LSU?
Well, I certainly feel better this week than I have in weeks past. You know, we're in a better place. I think our players' confidence is a little bit higher than it's been. Offensively, we're swinging the bats better than we probably have all season long. And yeah, anytime you go on the road against a top 5 team and a team as good as Texas A&M, who I guess went into our series with a record of 40-7, and you win that series, you have to feel pretty good about yourself because that's a great accomplishment. And now we're going to try to build upon that and carry that momentum to a huge challenge this week against LSU.
Boy, the offense at Texas A&M, incredible performances by so many different guys who just stepped up. I mean, Marcus Mooney, whatever you were feeding him, you should continue to feed him, and so many others who had great offensive performances. And then some of it continued last night against Upstate. Are you just seeing some guys starting to play up to potential and maybe just some confidence issues changing? What has led to this miniature turnaround offensively?
Well, I think it's confidence. I think, we struggled all year long getting some production from the lower half of our lineup. We had so much on the top with Kyle Martin, Max Schrock, and Elliott Caldwell, and Gene Cone. If those guys didn't get on base or produce, it was a struggle for us to score. Well, now the bottom half of their order is doing their part, and they're contributing, and they're getting in on it, so we don't have to rely so much on the top of our order. And I think right now we're just getting some contributions from 1 through 9, and that's made that's made a big difference. And our confidence level is a little bit higher, and we've been more aggressive on the bases. Guys are running the bases a little bit harder. We're just playing a lot better baseball at the present time than we were, several weeks ago.
Max Schrock certainly makes this team a heck of a lot better. It just seems as if everybody plays better when he's in the lineup. Everybody hits better when he's in the lineup. He didn't play last night. He gutted it out at Texas A&M. What's his status for tomorrow night?
Well, we've given him obviously the whole week off. He didn't practice again today, and his hand issue is extremely painful, and it's it's a wrist tendonitis, hamate bone. I mean, I don't know exactly what the diagnosis is. I just know that when he tries to swing a bat, it's extremely painful. So we've let it calm down this week. I won't know if he can go tomorrow until he comes to the stadium and takes batting practice, to be honest with you. And we're hopeful that he can play. We kind of did this last week prior to Texas A&M, gave him the week off, and he gutted his way through it. And hopefully he can do that again this weekend. We certainly need him in there.
Also, Connor Bright couldn't play last night. What's his status for tomorrow?
Well, I think Connor's probably going to be out. He had a minor sublux of his shoulder where it kind of popped out a joint on one of the swings and at Texas A&M, and he kind of popped in and popped out. So it was very, very sore. And we put Clark Shalamaro in his place, and obviously he was one of the guys at the bottom of the order that really played well at A&M, and he had 3 hits again last night. So Clark's feeling nicely for Connor, and hopefully Connor will get well and can help us down the road. But right now Clark's on fire, and he'll probably be in there tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm. Has Hunter Taylor pretty much taken over at catcher?
Well, right now I think that he's got some offensive side. He can hit the ball out of the park. Obviously, he's a better runner, and he's improved drastically behind the plate in his catching skills and receiving skills. And right now I'm playing the hot hand. Behind the plate, he's got it. Also, his upside's so big, and he's such a big part of the future of our program. Being a freshman, I just feel good the way Hunter's playing right now, and right now we're going to continue to put him in there.
All right, you've got LSU coming in. They're ranked number 1. Is this a typical LSU team?
Yeah, well, they've had some great ones, obviously, and this is one of their best ones. I don't see a weakness on their team in any way, shape, or form. They've played great defense. They have a great shortstop that kind of makes them go, and Alex Bregman. They can run, stolen over 100 bases. They're very, very deep on the mound. Their bullpen's deep. There's no chink in that armor. They're number one for a reason. 44-8. You go 44-8 in this league, you're a dang good team, and they certainly that. We're going to have to play our best baseball of the year, to have a chance to win these games, obviously, but it's exciting, time too. Number one, yes, it's a huge challenge. It's also a great opportunity. We're playing them at home. Hopefully, it'll be a crazy atmosphere, and our guys are certainly excited about teeing it up against them and kind of see if we can carry that momentum that we have right now into this weekend. And like I said, we're going to have to play our best baseball of the year to have a chance.
Is Wynkoop the only set starter? I'm assuming he'll start tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll give it to Zach tomorrow night, and we'll just play. We'll just go into it just like we did with Texas A&M. I think that we're kind of gave our team the mindset that we're one game at a time, and that means all hands are on deck. If we need anybody tomorrow night to help us win the game, we'll use them, and then we'll look at Saturday's starter. Tomorrow night after the game, or even Saturday morning. On Friday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm a little confused, but we'll look at the starter after game one, who we're going to start the next game. But we got to use everybody if we have a chance to win. I don't want to save anybody because these games are too important, and in the hole that we kind of dug we can't lose the game because we saved the guy for the next game, if you know what I mean. So we're going to try to take it one game at a time, and hopefully that worked out for us at A&M. Hopefully it worked out for us this weekend.
All right, so you're 30-22, 12-15 in SEC play. And what do you think you need to do here the rest of the way? 3 games against LSU. You've got at least one game in Hoover. You could have as many as 3. What do you think you've got to do to get yourself in the NCAA tournament here down the stretch?
Well, we got to play well. And, you asked me that same question a couple of weeks ago, and I told you that we have to win more than we lose, and I still think that's the case. If we go on a good run in the SEC tournament, that's for sure. But the good news about it is, we got an opportunity. Maybe a couple of weeks ago we were looking at things, it didn't look so promising for us, but now that hopefully we're playing our best baseball of the year, and we have an opportunity here with the series at home, and then we have an opportunity to compete in the SEC tournament next week. If we can pile up a few wins, I think we'll have a really good chance to be in there. Obviously, our RPI is going to go up this weekend playing LSU, and if we're lucky enough to win a couple of games, it'll certainly put us in position, put us in the conversation to be in the NCAA tournament. And then we'll need to go to Hoover and play well, I believe, too.
All right, one last thing, not related to your team at all, but related to that team in the upstate, and that is 2 teams in the upstate. Have you ever heard of a team being 10 runs down early in a game and then at some point in the game later on being up by 10 runs, a 20-run turnaround? Have you ever heard of that?
Park must have been playing small last night. I saw the scores, and that's crazy. And, it's baseball's a crazy game, and just when you think you've seen it all, something else happens. And obviously those 2 teams last night were swinging the bats very, very well. And maybe the wind was blowing out too. I didn't see how many home runs were hit, but obviously they were swinging the bats well. And that's crazy. It's crazy. I wasn't there, and I didn't read the stat sheet too much, but I know that just when you think you've seen it on a baseball field, something else happens, and those 2 teams can definitely swing the bat. So I guess that was an incredible performance by those 2 teams.
Oh, yeah. Coach, thank you so much. Going to be a great 3-game series, great atmosphere in Columbia. Best of luck to you. We'll see you there.
Phil, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it, sir. Thank you. Chad Holbrook, pitching in the upstate last night, if you add in the runs between Clemson and Furman, that was 38, and then the 17 that upstate gave up. Upstate pitching last night gave up 55 runs in their 2 games. Not real good. Gray's report coming up. time for our Braves reports here exclusively on Sports Talk, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bauer Parkway in Columbia. You will find the best selection of golf clubs in the Midlands for adults and juniors. In fact, soon you'll be able to purchase my clubs. I'm about to donate them to Play It Again Sports and take up something else, maybe bowling. Also by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals, and by Mattress by Appointment. Real simple. You call, you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. Call 803-530-8549. We welcome Mike Morgan to the program. I know he's not much of a golfer. What about, do you bowl at all? Is bowling something that you ever do?
I have bowled with the TV crew once a year. We usually do that, and my team actually won the championship a couple of years ago. So I have a bowling trophy. I got that going for me.
Excellent. Yeah, bowling is a bigger ball than a golf ball. It comes back to you, the ball does. Usually, if you don't jump across lanes, it's right there in front of you. So there's a lot of positives to bowling over golf, the way I look at it. But anyway,
I'm a better natural bowler than the natural golfer. So, yes, I concur, and I'm sure you can get some great bowling balls that Play It Again Sports as well.
Absolutely. Things are heavy.
So you can be that guy to bring your own bowling ball to the alley. Everybody loves that guy.
All right, Braves taking on the chin last night to the Reds 4-3. What's your take on this loss?
Well, Fultonavich actually pitched pretty well overall, made a couple of mistakes defensively. The bigger the pitcher, he's a pretty big guy like so many of these guys are now. The less of the defensive player that he is, and that might be something he needs to work on with time. They put in Grilly in a non-safe situation in the ninth. For whatever reason, that seems to have a psychological hold over so many closers in baseball, and he did not pitch very well. Of course, he's still kind of working the rust off because he's been injured with a back injury the last couple of weeks. But, overall, they just didn't do quite enough to defeat the Reds. But one-run loss, you take it. You had a nice win the night before, and now you try to go ahead and take care of business tonight with a guy that chances are you're going to have to really hit the baseball to win, because Eric Stoltz has struggled, and Eric Stoltz kind of is what it is. He's a back-end guy just trying to hold on to a job. Everybody who says the Braves bullpen is bad, well, that's really not a surprise. We kind of knew that. The Braves bullpen is not good. It wasn't supposed to be good. They mortgaged that for other things when they traded Craig Kimbrell away. They've lost some great setup guys over the years. The surprise has been how shaky the rotation has been for much of the year, and that's something that needs to improve. And you can't just rely on the same three guys at the front end. You could use some help from guys like Eric Stoltz. Maybe that starts tonight.
Mike Minor, as far as the surgery goes, what is he having done, and what's the prognosis?
Well, I think his prognosis is he's done for the year. That's not really a prognosis. That's kind of a fact. And then I really have my doubts on where Mike Minor kind of falls in the plans of the future at this point. You're talking about a guy that is coming off a bad year, that has had arm issues the last couple of years. And when the way it always works is elbow is bad, shoulder is worse. And when you're talking about a guy who's having shoulder surgery, that's not good. Guys have been bouncing back from Tommy John's quite a bit, at least one of them. Two of them's a little bit dicey. But if you're Mike Minor and you've already been struggling, you've already been banged up, and now you're going to have shoulder surgery, that's a little bit scary to me.
Mike, what are you expecting to see from Stoltz tonight?
If you could tell me he would go 6 innings and allow fewer than 4 runs, I would take it. I'm not going to be greedy. So if you can give me that and then let this Braves offense go against a pitcher and Iglesias that, quite frankly, I know nothing about. I know it's not Julio. I know he will not be working with Willie Nelson and singing a ballad of To All the Girls I've Loved Before. But this should be a guy you should be able to score some runs against. But Yeah, 6 innings and fewer than 4 runs, and I'll take it.
Very much as always for the visit. Get those bowling lessons together. I'll be coming to Atlanta pretty soon to take you on in another sport that perhaps I can dominate you in. Of course, I whipped Mike in horse not too long ago and thoroughly enjoyed beating him on hardwood in that exciting game. Boston beat Oakland today 2-0. Only game in Major League Baseball complete. Arizona leads Washington 6-5 in the 8th. Cleveland over St. Louis 2-0 in the 2nd. Be right back. Okay, let's give you the recruiting report here on a Wednesday night. Defensive lineman Naquan Jones of Evanston, Illinois, has got June 5th for his decision date. He said it's near the end of his school year, and he's ready to be done with recruiting so he can focus on his senior season, his senior year. He's down to USC, Michigan State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Penn State. He's been to USC. He plans to make another visit. He's been in touch with Everett Sands, and they're trying to schedule a visit for him to come back down. He said he had a really great time on his earlier visit. Sands and John Hoke have been in to see him. He's expecting Sands and Deke Adams to pay him a visit this week or next. He said his USC visit has been the best so far. The Gamecocks and Michigan State are recruiting him the hardest. He's also been to Michigan State. Said he likes everything about South Carolina. Enjoyed talking to Steve Spurrier. Feels like he could fit in well and be comfortable at South Carolina. But he's not ready to name it, and he does plan to further shorten his list between now and his announcement time. He said he's looking for the best school that will fit him and support him academically, and where he has good bonds with the teammates and the coaches and where he feels comfortable. Offensive lineman Clark Yarbrough, Woodbury Forest, Virginia, May 21st, at the conclusion of spring practice. Sunday night, he disclosed that he would not be ready to make his decision by then. He pushed the process into June. He's been working a short list of Clemson, Stanford, Duke, Florida, Virginia. It's been a busy time for him with schoolwork, track, and football duties, and his coach said he just hasn't had the time to focus on making his decision. Coach Clint Alexander told us that his top 5 still the same, but he hasn't really talked to him, but he is really torn. He said the top 3 he put out every day he makes a case for one of them, and then the next day it's another one. And he said one day he decides this school, and then he switches up. The coach said from what he's heard, Clemson, Duke, and Stanford appear to have moved to the top of his list, though he said Yarbrough still likes all 5 schools. Clemson has already been by the school once this spring to watch him throw the shot put in a track meet. Tigers will be back next week. Defensive back Trayvon Mullen of Pompano Beach, Florida, has Clemson in his top 10. He recently released his top 10 list, and Clemson is in that top 10 list at this time. Some of the others that he has on his top 10 list include TCU, LSU, Florida State, Baylor, Auburn, Florida, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas A&M. USC offered 2019 defensive end Owen Popola of Grayson, Georgia. In basketball, 5'11" Tukey Brown of Madison, Georgia, visited USC last week. USC has not offered, but they are very interested in him, and vice versa, according to his coach. He visited Georgia Southern yesterday. Ole Miss and Georgia State are also showing interest. He is a former commitment to Mississippi State. There you go with recruiting. It's top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email back at sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. We have got some time for phone calls. If you want to join us now, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. We've got some email to get to. The email address, talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, at SportsTalkSC. K-Mac, did I see that you were involved in a little harsh Twitter back and forth, a little name-calling perhaps?
Name calling?
I didn't catch the –
I don't
well,
know.
I think I saw a tweet where somebody referred to somebody about being a lowlife or something. Was that you? Was somebody referring to you in such a manner or the other way around?
Well, probably. I mean, somebody could have very easily referred to me as a lowlife. I refrain from name calling when it comes to Twitter back and forth. I tend to counter with facts, knowledge, wisdom, maybe a little snark, but never name calling. Well,
what was this about?
I don't know. I don't even know what. I don't know. You're the one talking. I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't recall.
Well,
this.
I'd have to go back and look. And I mean, I know you got into it a little bit.
Yeah, those
with
Barstool sports
Patriots
guys. Yeah, those
something.
people went berserk. You know, the guys that went out and got arrested, and I made fun of them. They didn't like it. Yeah, I like to call them stool pigeons, but I think it's Barstool Sports, which I made the mistake of clicking on their website and had to take a shower. I mean, if you like slideshows of like the hottest wives in the NBA and, you know, Derek Jeter's girlfriends ranked, then that's a site for you. And they have a lot of they're very proud of the number of Twitter followers they have, which they've pointed out repeatedly that they have more Twitter followers than us. So Justin Bieber has more Twitter followers than us, too. I think he's a tool. So I'm not really concerned about the number of Twitter followers you have.
Well, the thing that gets me is I always use the line when sports fans fly off the handle for something. And for instance, if a Patriots fan, what do you mean? So why are you upset, sir? Are you looking in the mirror? Are you arguing with yourself because you think there is something back there and you're trying to cover it up? I mean, why would you be angry? That's the only thing that makes me think that they're angry because they think there's something there.
So Twitter followers, is that the new status symbol in America?
So, I mean, I guess so we have to go out and get arrested for something. Apparently, we need to stage a protest and get arrested. Over USC and Clemson not getting Everett Golson and handcuff ourselves and get arrested like these guys did. They did not like being made fun of by Sports Talk. Little old Sports Talk SC. They asked if we even have sports in South Carolina. I pointed out that we don't. We just do Civil War. Very competitive Civil War reenactments.
Let's grow some thicker skin, boys and girls, if we're going to play a big boys game here on Twitter, all right? Let's grow a thicker skin. 800-956-7266. We'll be right back. And we got some time for your calls as we invite you to join us here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. If you want to ring us up, email talkback at Sports Talk SC, on Twitter at Sports Talk SC. The website is sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook it is Sports Talk Radio Network. A couple of emails into us here. This is from Matthew, who says that maybe a little bit too late, but I'm still once again enjoying yard-cock baseball. Hopefully this is a glimpse of things to come on offense heading into 2016. Possible. A lot of young guys are starting to play well, and you can perhaps count on them to keep it going into 2016. But as we talked about last night, guys, while Chad Holbrook's going to have a pretty fair number of good everyday players returning, it looks like there's a possibility that Max Schrock will be back. I like what I'm seeing with Taylor developing behind the plate. And what's his name out in left field? I'm going to have to look it up. Scarlanecchia. Got to work on that name. Yeah, that would be Scalamero, Clark Scalamero. Coming along in left field, Madison Stokes. He had 3 hits last night. He's coming along. They're going to have some good young players to build around, but the pitching, I think, now is going to be a big concern going into next year.
Yeah, well, that's why you coach. You're going to have some headaches you have to cover up. But the interesting thing is, I think probably from the middle point of being a psychologist this year, maybe something is learned by Chad Holbrook of being about a head coach, because it never ceases to amaze me how a team can collectively get down in the dumps and suddenly the same guys in the same uniforms play like, wait a minute, where's this team been? You know, it just freaks you out. But that's why we like sports, because of the human element. You never know what you're going to get, because we all mentioned that, man, it could get ugly at Texas A&M. You wonder if they salvage a game. No one thought 2 out of 3. And no one thought they would score all those runs, and no one thought they came within an eyelash of sweeping out there. Nobody would have thought that going in.
I agree with you 100%. And the key for them is to see what they can do to build on their success of this past weekend. Of course, it's not going to be easy, as you heard Chad Holbrook say. This might be best LSU team that he's seen around his days at South Carolina. Very talented in so many different ways: offense, pitching, defense. They kind of bring the whole menu to the table. So South Carolina will have to rely on the home field, the home crowd, to keep them excited and juiced up. And they need a good start in the series tomorrow night with Jack Wynkoop in particular, going out and trying to get that opening victory of the series and then go on from there. Let's get to your phone calls. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. And we're going to go to, did you say Reggie? Is that what? Reggie in North Charleston, listening to us on our affiliate there, 910 AM ESPN Radio, Kirkman Communications. Reggie, how are you? Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Hey, I'm just
terrific. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm just tuning in. I don't know if you touched on the Everett Golston, I guess, search for a new college. Number one, where does this stem from? Was it a mutual parting, or did he see the writing on the wall at Notre Dame? And what school seems to be the leader in the clubhouse right now for his services?
All right, first of all, yes, he was not happy at Notre Dame. He is not a big fan of the head coach there, Brian Kelly. And it also appeared as if he was going to not be the starter coming out of spring. It appeared that they are moving in a different direction with their quarterback, going with the left-hander Zaire as their starting quarterback. So he kind of feels like he was kind of being pushed out the door, so to speak, in terms of the job, and he decided to leave and go somewhere else. But first and foremost, and always in his plan, agree from Notre Dame, and he will get that on Sunday. And your second part of your question, as we have stated from the outset of this entire saga, Our information has been that he's going to Florida State. He's made some other visits. Reportedly, he's been to Florida. Reportedly, he's been to Georgia. I'm being told that he went to Alabama as well. He and his family have been on the road visiting these different schools. But Florida State is the only one where a coach has commented publicly about meeting with him. I think that says something as well. But beyond that, our information from the outset has been he's going to go to Florida State. It's been in his plan for about 3 months. And when it's all said and done, come this Sunday after he graduates, soon after that, he will announce his decision or his plan to go to Florida State. That's the information that we've had.
Good. All right. Thanks for the information.
You got it, sir. Appreciate your phone call. 800-966-7266. And we're going to go next to Howard down in Somerville as well, listening to us on 910 or perhaps 98.9 FM, both ESPN, Kirkman Broadcasting radio stations. Howard, how are you? Good to have you on Sports Talk.
Well, thank you. Right, this is the down here. It's the Bobby Harton station. And it's beautiful down here in Somerville. Beautiful day, and I heard my dogs. Definitely not cooped up inside, and it's just beautiful weather. And I heard the K-Mac talking about the Twitter thing and the civil, all they know us for is civil reenactments. I feel your pain. I was born and raised here in Charleston. I grew up in Folly Beach, but I lived in Southern California first, so I lived in Orange County. Beautiful place, Southern California. But they always, you say from South Carolina, that's about it. Civil War reenactment. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like they think you're just all about. But, of course, the reason I'm calling about is that it's about actually South Carolina baseball. While I was living in Orange County, actually, I was like 19 or 18, 19, I had the honor to listen to Vin Scully, Dodger baseball, Chick Hearn, and I love radio and brought South Carolina baseball. It's been up and down. And to me, sit in my garage, listen to Mike Moore, Andy Demetra and Mike Mooney, even regardless of the score of the game, is just a pleasure. But now this time of year, the Gamecocks are coming on. We're playing LSU.
I don't know if I would put Andy Demetra in the same category as I would Chick Hearn and Vin Scully. With all due disrespect to Andy Demetra, I don't think we need to put his name in there with a couple of Hall of Fame broadcasters. Olive Branch there. Because I'm a Dodger fan and a Laker fan, and those two guys they're the Mount Rushmore for me. So
they're about as old as Mount Rushmore.
They deserve it. Gone. Yeah. K-Mac, you just keep doing your little radio show that nobody listens to.
I know. No one listens to us here.
But to me, I tuned in. Now Chad Holbrook's talking again, and so you think maybe things are working out. It's okay. I listen to baseball for baseball. The stories, to me, that's a part of baseball, regardless. But now there's a lot. To me, this is just exciting as University of South Carolina football. And I have a question, and I'm gonna go up there. Should players be a fifth major? And I'll hang up and listen to your answer.
No. I mean, we don't need. Why do we need a fifth major? The schedule is worked out just fine, and why do you need a fifth major?
You don't. And you have the playoff now and you have, it's a big tournament. Everybody knows the bigger tournaments that aren't the majors. And the Players Championship is definitely one of them. Pebble Beach is a big tournament. But
there's a story and a reason behind each of the four majors. Okay.
And also
what is the story and the reason behind making the Players a major? There isn't.
The Island Green.
It's just another tournament.
The party.
Plus, you can't say a guy's going for the Grand Slam because it wouldn't be the Grand Slam anymore because there's 5 majors.
This is true. Yeah, we don't need it.
Nice to get a fellow Southern California native on the air, though.
K-Mac, you're not a Los Angeles Leon. What would you? A Los Angeles? Los Angeles? You're from Pelion. You're not.
That's where I was born.
You're a Pelion. You're a
That's
Pelionite. You're
where
not
I
a
went
Los
to school.
Angelenan.
Well, it's just where my roots are, where I was born, where I have family. So I'm still going to, it's still a part of me, Corn. I have a lot more California in me than you do Boston or New York, where you spend all of probably 20 minutes of your entire life. Green Bay, where you spend about 5 minutes.
Early, my formative years were in the Bedford Stuyvesant.
Who's Latta's
Borough.
pro team?
The Latta Vikings.
They're pro now. They're paying those kids.
Yeah.
How did they do against Bamberg? I mean, it's about time. I'm very proud of you.
I'll have to look
have
that
not.
up.
I should know that because now Corn's going to give us our annual
Playoffs.
district playoff rundown, which is
Let's
always
see. No,
riveting radio.
We're in the lower state semifinals. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we got beat yesterday by Hannah Pampico, but we're down a pitcher because he decided to go to the. He decided to go to the prom a little bit intoxicated or something, and so we're missing a thrower. Anyway, Latta 4-1 over Bamberg Earhart in the top of the second. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
Quickly back to the phones we go, and it's Mike down in Somerville listening to us on 910, 98.9 ESPN Radio. How are you? Good to have you with us.
Well, doing well. I don't know if either of y'all, any of the three of y'all, saw the Chicago-Cleveland game last night, and I was just wondering if you did, how could three officials on the sideline and then the officials they say is in New York or wherever that watches these reviews, how they could have kicked out the Gibson guy when it was so obvious that the Cleveland player held his legs. They just and then listen to the announcers praise at Joey Crawford about being such a superior ref when it was just obvious that the Cleveland player instigated and caused the whole thing. And then secondly, is it fair to say if somehow Carolina won 2 of the 3 this weekend that they might get it, that would prompt them to get into the regionals?
You would have to say that if you beat the third-ranked team at the time and you get bumped 17 positions to 57, I think it probably would put them conservatively in the close to in the 40s, mid 40s. So that might be enough.
That'd make them 14-16. Let's say they took 2 out of 3. That'd make them 14-16 in the league. They'd probably have to go and win 2. And if they did that and won,
Texas A&M got in one year winning only 13 in the SEC.
and they have some street cred. I mean, South Carolina is, they're a blue blood in college baseball, and it's still a committee that makes these decisions. So if they're on the bubble and you want to put them, they're going to be on the road somewhere. Hey, they travel well. They're going to draw well. Put them in. I mean, that could help them, but they have some work to do. And winning that series against LSU is going to be
right call in the Cleveland game. Taj Gibson kicked the guy. You can't kick a guy.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Open once again if you'd like to join in on the program. Love to hear from you on this Wednesday night. Talk football. We went over South Carolina's schedule on the backside of Steve Spurrier's comments today on the SEC conference call. Gave us a good opportunity to kind of break down the Gamecock schedule. So what do you think? We're kind of around that 7, 8, maybe 9-win scenario for South Carolina in 2015. Too conservative, not high enough in terms of victories for the Gamecocks, or are we kind of reaching over the top there? 800-956-7266 is the phone number here on Sports Talk. Looking ahead to tomorrow night in this week's showdown between USC and LSU. LSU starting rotation will be left-hander Jared Poche, 7-1, 2.87 ERA. Game 2 will be right-hander Austin Bain. He's a freshman, 1-2, 2.98 ERA. And their Game 3 starter is right-hander Alex Lang. He, too, is a freshman. He's 9-0, 2.13 ERA. He has 82 strikeouts in 76 innings, so he obviously is a very hard thrower. The only starter we know right now for South Carolina is Jack Wynkoop on Thursday night. But, looking at some of the numbers on LSU, I mean, they lead the SEC in so many categories. They lead the league in hitting at 320. The Gamecocks are last in the league at 257. They also field at a very high clip, 977 mark. They've only committed 48 errors this season. The Gamecocks have gotten much better. They're at 971. They've committed 57 errors. They've cleaned up their act in the field here recently. They've gone 4 straight games without an error. That's the second time this season they've gone 4 straight games without an error, and that's their longest errorless streak of the season. LSU can hit the long ball. They've got 42 home runs to the Gamecocks 39. And they run 96 stolen bases to 60 for the Gamecocks.
I've been looking at some of the games that South Carolina or Clemson not playing in, and I've watched a bunch of LSU games that's been on the SEC network and on one of the other ESPN mini networks. And yes, they have a good team, but I've seen LSU win a bunch of games, pulling them out at the end. It's not like they're dominating people. And I'm not so certain if I'm a coach, I'm going to let my team I would suggest to my team, please do not look at stats. Because if it was, you would hope that Texas A&M wasn't peeping at the stats and saying, well, South Carolina doesn't hit that well, so we should have a game. And then suddenly South Carolina goes into College Station and say, wait a minute, Coach, you showed us the stats. They were batting at the bottom. Mm-hmm. That's why I never, sometimes you don't look at stats. They can really psych you out at some point.
And South Carolina, they have found some mojo at times at home. Sans that Auburn series, they played pretty well, and Georgia beat them at home 2 out of 3, but those were all close games, and they had the rain delay on Friday and 2 one-run games on Saturday. But anything can happen, and the Gamecocks' backs are against the wall. I would expect they're going to be motivated like they were in that Vanderbilt series, but LSU easily could be the best team that they played this year. They are very good, and Holbrook said today at his press conference that LSU probably has more talent than they did on their roster than they did when they won the College World Series back in 2000.
Well, the key point here also is, let's face it, LSU has a lot to play for. They're playing for the West title. South Carolina did them a favor against Texas A&M, gave them some breathing room, but also LSU is looking at the #1 overall national seed, whatever gravy that is. But they've got a lot to play for too. South Carolina in desperation mode because their playoffs began last week at Texas A&M, and they continue this week. As far as LSU is concerned, they still got a lot to play for as far as that overall national #1 seed is concerned.
All right, I think we have Corn back with us now. Or no Corn? He's back down. Well, let's go ahead and check in with Jack Leggett. We'll listen in on what he had to say in that wild game at Floor Field last night. Furman jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Clemson stormed back. A game that took almost 5 hours to complete. The Tigers won it 25-15. They turned a 10-run deficit into a 10-run win. Jack Leggett after that matchup.
Almost, but that was unusual. You know, we got started off on the wrong foot on the mound, and got started out on the wrong foot defensively. Played really poor 2 innings. I'm really proud of how we battled back because, you know, it would have been easy. Runs. We were really good offensively from the 3rd inning on and built some innings and started shoring up our pitching. I thought Charlie Barnes and Pat Crow did a good job for us, just settling things down and allowing our offense to get churning. We had some big hits, and Oki had a big night. And some other guys had some big nights. You know, Duggar was bases loaded, and I mean with men on first and second, I think, and then same thing with Reed Rollman, with the guys running with. So we did some really good things offensively tonight. One of those nights.
Defensively, I mean, you see 6 on the air, and in that second inning, you kind of try to get everyone to settle down after you had your 4th error there. What did you tell them that, you know,
just moving our feet? You know, the ball was beating us in the infield, and you know, we just didn't move our feet very well, and you know, we got to do a little better job that way, without question. You know, and we had a little trouble pitching early in the ball game, and you know, early in the game, everything was sliding through the infield for them. Late in the game, it kind of was doing the same thing for us. You know, it's so we got some breaks at the end, and during the course of the game, I really liked the way we battled. You know, it was one of those games where we had to try to outscore them because we got off to a slow start, and then we got bleeding a little bit in there with Charlie and Pat, and just allowed ourselves to get some offensive rhythm going.
Can you use this game going forward? Maybe you're down in a situation, or it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I mean, the way this team, way this game went tonight, you can probably use this going forward.
Yeah, you know, you learn some lessons from every game, and you know, we learned some lessons from this one. And if you're down 10, you're never out of it. And you know, it's a tough game. It's a humbling game, and you know, the good thing is we won it. And, you know, we put some pressure on them from the 3rd inning on. We did a really good job offensively. And we learned something from every game. And we just, you know, we got to play a little bit better. But at the same time, we got some toughness about us. And our backs are against the wall. And, you know, we're kind of banding together and hoping people jump on our backs and give us some momentum and give us some positive energy. And going into the weekend against Florida State, it's going to be a big weekend for us. So hopefully we'll take this, get some rest tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever time it is, and get on the plane tomorrow and go and play hard this weekend out of Florida State. Big weekend.
Do you feel better about this team than you did a week ago?
I feel better about this team than I did, you know, a month ago. You know, a month ago, we've been playing actually pretty good baseball. We've had a couple of hiccups here and there, but our offense has been pretty good. And we just got to have a few more starting pitchers step up for us. And, you know, we've had trouble from the 7th inning on with the relief pitching and you know, and our defense hasn't been all that good. And so we've got to do a little better job on those 2 aspects. And you know, I think offensively we got more guys feeling pretty good about themselves, and so I think it's I feel a lot better than I did a month ago. I think we're a dangerous team, and if we can just get some momentum going and get some good starting pitching and get good relief pitching at the end and play some defense, then we got a pretty good offense.
Well, you know, psychologically, that could help a team. I mean, coming back from that. And let's face it, I think Clemson, they know this is their tournament right now coming up in Tallahassee, K-Mac. They've got to make some hay tomorrow and look at least take 2 out of 3 in Tallahassee.
Yeah, it's pretty much win or go home time for Clemson and USC baseball right now. They've got to get on a real hot streak and carry that into their conference tournaments next week, where we will be on Sports Talk. I'll be in Durham at the ACC tournament. Corn will be at Hoover at the SEC tournament, cranking up next week.
We've got the latest projection on the field of 64, courtesy of D1Baseball.com. And these guys are as smart as any when it comes to projecting this stuff. And they've got the College of Charleston hosting and as a number 1 seed, with Central Michigan, number 4 seed in that regional, North Carolina and Maryland, the 2 and the 3. They've got LSU hosting as the national number 1 seed in Baton Rouge. They've got UCLA hosting in Los Angeles. They've got Iowa in the Iowa City Regional hosting as a number 1 seed. Louisville hosting as a number 3 national seed. UCLA was the number 2 Oklahoma State hosting in Stillwater. They've got Illinois hosting as a number 4 national seed. Again, I ask anybody, when did Illinois become good in baseball? Where did that come from? They're sort of like Indiana, when Indiana came out of nowhere. Nashville, they've got Vanderbilt hosting in Nashville. They've got Florida State, number 5 national seed, hosting, of course. They have got Missouri State as a number 1 seed, hosting a Springfield regional. In Gainesville, Florida, they have the Gators as the number 6 national seed. They also have Miami hosting in Coral Gables. By the way, they have Coastal Carolina as a 2 seed going to Florida for that regional. TCU is the number 7 national seed hosting in Fort Worth. Southern Cal hosting as well in Los Angeles. And they've got the number 8 national seed as Dallas Baptist hosting a Dallas regional. And the other regional, they have Texas A&M hosting a College Station. So that is what D1 Baseball is projecting. They do not have USC. They do not have Clemson in the field of 64 right now.
That tells you that South Carolina is playing for the right to try to get in. And let's face it, people say, well, they're struggling to get in, but Cohen, they couldn't have picked 2 better teams to play their last 6 regular season conference games than these 2. Because if you're going to make any hay, you better beat teams with top RPIs so you can improve yours.
Absolutely. I mean, they have a golden opportunity here to make a name for themselves here late in the season, improve their RPI, catch the eye of the committee. And, you know, much like in basketball, when they select the at-large teams, they look for teams that finish up strongly. And the Gamecocks have won 3 of their last 4. If they can win 2 out of 3 this weekend against LSU, and then this is where playing in the single elimination round of the SEC tournament could be a little bit of a blessing, because if you can win that play-in game, that single elimination game, that's an extra win. By the way, the Gamecocks have 31 wins. I forgot to include the win last night when we were talking to Chad Holbrook. I said they had 30 wins. They actually have 31 wins. So, you know, if they can take 2 out of 3 from LSU, that's 33 wins. Then you go and win the single elimination game in Hoover. That's 34 wins, and then you have a chance to play 2 more games, and maybe the Gamecocks for a change will play well in Hoover, pick up a couple of more wins at the least. That'll get them up around 36 wins. Shoot, I think they're in with no question at that point.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because, boy, I've seen teams with worse resumes get in, and so it'll be interesting to see what they do to South Carolina, who, of course, over their recent history has a lot of cachet as far as that's concerned to get a mulligan here and there. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out.
Breaking news on Everett Golson came out. Don't know if you saw this. Breaking news.
Yes.
Everett Golson is now following Mark Richt on Twitter and vice versa.
Ooh, they're Twitter official. That's big.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
That is big. That's huge. I mean, this changes everything.
Is that an indication?
That's a game changer. Game changer.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, it's still Florida State. It's still Florida State until I hear otherwise.
Well, yeah, he might be, you know, hey, that's just one of those things where you deflect. In other words, you hook up with Mark Richt knowing you're going to Florida State and have people looking over there. Take the tension.
Well, who knows? Who knows? Does anybody put that much thought into it to purposely follow somebody to throw somebody else off the track? Somebody put that much thought into it?
It doesn't take much
I
thought.
sure don't.
It doesn't take much thought to do that.
I mean, Arden Key used to do a lot of crazy stuff on his social media.
Well, are we following anything or anybody on Sports Talk SC that might, be misleading in terms of what people think of us?
I don't know. I know the people that I pay attention to that we follow. We follow a lot of people on there. A lot of kids
I got a lot of teenagers.
You've got a lot of teenage boys that we are following. Way more teenage boys than I'm comfortable.
Yeah, that could be misleading to some people if they don't know what we're doing here on Sports Talk. We'll be back in a moment. All right, let's give you some scores here to wrap things up on this Wednesday night around Major League Baseball. First of all, the Braves are trailing Cincinnati 4-0. In the fourth, Minnesota leads Detroit 6-0 in the third. Baltimore leading Toronto 5-0 in the third. Cleveland over St. Louis 2-0 in the third. It is Tampa Bay ahead of the Yankees 3-2 in the second. The Marlins and the Dodgers are scoreless, just underway in the first. Boston beat Oakland 2-0. Washington beat Arizona 9-6. What do we have on card tonight for the NBA, Pro?
It will be the Hawks and Wizards at 8 and Golden State against Memphis. And I think they're at Golden State tonight.
Yeah, they've gone back out west. Golden State has sort of aren't they, what are they, up 3-2 in that series?
No, it's 2-2.
That's 2-2.
Yeah.
That's 2-2. And the Hawks and the Wizards are 2-2?
2-2. And
2-2, okay.
John Wall is taping up his wrist tonight and will try to give it a go.
Paul Pierce. You know, I don't have any more dogs in the fight here, but I wouldn't mind seeing Washington and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals just so Paul Pierce and LeBron James could battle head-to-head one more time. That'd be kind of neat. I think that'd be an interesting storyline if you could get those two together to face off one more time.
Yeah, maybe 5 years ago when Paul Pierce still had a little gas in the tank.
I think he has plenty of gas in the tank. How much gas does Comey have in his tank right now? I think he's on empty. I think he's very much on empty. Empty. Is he coming back next year?
What do you think, Corn?
I think the next time we see Comey, he'll be sitting there behind the table at the lottery selection process to see if the Lakers get a lottery pick.
He's not going to be there.
No, he's
May
just
20th,
interested in
and
that sort of thing.
he's not going to be.
Why can't he be there? Where's he going to be? Why can't he represent his team?
He doesn't want to be
Ask
there.
him to be there.
Well, he's the face of the franchise. He's the reason they're in the lottery.
He's the reason they're in the lottery. Kobe Bryant's the reason they're in the lottery. It's all his fault.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I pin it on him personally.
It's all his fault. Now, who's the reason the Lakers have won 5 championships with Kobe Bryant? Who's
Shaq?
Shaq. What about the championships that
Without
the Lakers
Shaq.
won without Shaq?
Mitch Kupchak.
Oh, okay.
And that's why
All
they're in the
right.
lottery.
Tomorrow night, we've got South Carolina LSU. We've got Clemson, Florida State. We've got other big baseball games. We'll have more in recruiting for you, and we'll catch you up on all the other major news of the day. We appreciate you being with us tonight. Thank you, K-Mac. Thank you, Steak Man. Thanks to my staff here at our Myrtle Beach headquarters for taking good care of us. Once again, they do a marvelous job every time we venture to our headquarters here in Myrtle Beach. Thank you, Steak Man, as well. And everybody have a great night. We'll see you back here on Sports Talk tomorrow night.